Today on Thrive Smarter, why everyone is moving from ChatGPT to Claude, plus my thoughts about the current state of AI. I'm also going to share details about my tech stack. I'm Cree, host of Thrive Smarter and founder of Thrive Solopreneur Collective. This is where we start the conversation, and at the end of this episode, join me over in the community where we'll keep the conversation going. This is where you can ask questions, share what you're building, and connect with other solopreneurs who are doing the work right alongside of you. Let's get ready to thrive. If you're paying attention to the news, or even if you're on social media this week, you're seeing that a lot of people are moving from using ChatGPT to Claude. And I think there are a lot of reasons behind this. Anthropic is the owner of Claude, and OpenAI is the owner of ChatGPT. So when it comes to these larger size companies, the reason why they're in the news cycle right now is because of their relationship with the US government. And Anthropic stood up and said, we have some certain privacy guidelines that we want to adhere to. There's a red line in the sand for us, and we're not going to cross that line. And because of that, the US government has ended their contracts with Anthropic, and they'll be moving away from that platform. So this is a lot of money that's involved as well, not just privacy concerns. And then OpenAI is the company that owns ChatGPT, and the US government has announced that they are going to establish a working relationship with ChatGPT. So that's kind of the high-level overview of what's happening in the news cycle right now. And I think as a result, these companies are taking advantage of that. And we as users really need to make some decisions about trust. And of course, this isn't the only component. I'm going to go over a couple of other thoughts here in a moment. But at the end of the day, right now, if you're using AI, if you're using it as a tool, in particular, if you're using something like Claude or ChatGPT, these businesses are brand new. They're just being established. And if you're also paying attention to the money and where all these investments are going, these companies are not making money right now. They're building data centers. Everybody's on a $20 a month subscription. Investors are investing in these businesses. These huge contracts, like with the US government, for example, as one contractual agreement that we're all kind of aware of right now in the news cycle, we're early adopters. So there's a ton of risk no matter what tool you use. And I just want everybody to be aware, especially if you are investing not only in a monthly or annual subscription with these companies, but also you are putting your data into these platforms. And when you use the tools, they're pulling from whatever you share. They remember all that data, it's stored, and it helps make your results more relevant to you and your business over time. And so there's a lot of concern here as well. But the big one is risk. In terms of risk, wherever you are sharing your data or spending your money, there's just going to be risk. There's chances that a year from now, Claude might be out of business. There's also the chance that a year from now that ChatGPT might be out of business. So I wouldn't be in a huge rush to be changing platforms left and right. Most of us have been around for a while. We experience social media, and this happens a lot with building up audiences on certain platforms. So just think of it in those terms. As these companies change their algorithms or change the way they do business, you are essentially at the mercy of that company. So ultimately, you're in a better space if you build your own AI environment with your own GPTs. But I think that is a big lift for a lot of people. So just keep this in mind. I wouldn't put a ton of weight on which platform you should use at this time. If you've been using ChatGPT, continue using it as long as you feel comfortable from a trust perspective, and vice versa with Claude. I wouldn't be too quick to change platforms right now. Just hold off a little bit. And not only because of the news cycle and because of money and investments, but also for a couple of different reasons. So let's take a look at Claude very quickly. If you open up their interface, there's 3 options. You can either open up a chat, you can co-work, or you can go into Claude Code. And what Claude is doing a great job at right now is allowing you to give the tool access so that it can see your files on your computer, or even files if you store them in Google Workspace or a similar environment like that. And this gives it the ability to learn more about you and have more context much quicker. I will say this is in the very initial stages of this tool. I have seen horror stories about somebody giving Claude access to their folders to help them organize. And next thing you know, like half of their information has been permanently deleted. I personally am not giving these tools access to all of my stuff right now. If I open a new project or if I am asking Claude to co-work with me, then I'm only giving the tool access to what it needs at this time. I'm feeding it all of the information. So I have all of that organized separately so that I can just upload it very quickly if I open a new project. That's how I'm handling the situation with Claude right now. In terms of ChatGPT, if you open up that tool, you can start a chat. And there's some other options in that tool like deep research, Codex, GPTs, and the two different platforms definitely have different looks and feels. In ChatGPT, you can also open up the settings, and I think that it gives you more control over the way you want to interact with the tool, like what tone you want to use, things of that nature. So the two different tools have different looks and feels, and I like to think of that in terms of usability. And in my opinion, in addition to the trust issue right now, I think that Claude is knocking it out of the park when it comes to usability, especially for anybody who's using these tools for the first time. Claude has not only done a great job at establishing trust in the marketplace right now, but in terms of usability, when you open up that platform, you know exactly what to do. You either want to chat with the tool, you want to ask it to co-work with you, or you want to start some sort of a code-related project. So earlier I did mention that if you're thinking about moving from one tool to another, just to kind of hold tight a little bit. But if this is something that's new to you and you just want to start using a new tool now, I'm actually recommending Claude to start out with. Both of these tools run at about $20 a month if you want to go the paid route to get started. But yeah, Claude, in my opinion, right now is winning. And that's from a trust and usability perspective. But now let's think of all of this in terms of being a business owner. We've covered the initial items, but my hot take is, again, because we're early adopters, there's going to be risk involved. Be aware of that. Be ready to pivot however you'd like. I also think that as these platforms grow and because of the competitive nature, right now, Claude might be performing better for business owners and ChatGPT might be doing worse. But this is just going to be a lot of back and forth. Next week, ChatGPT might be giving better results with your prompts, whereas Claude might be falling behind. So they're going to be copying each other and catching up all the time. So again, another reason, kind of hold tight if you're already invested in one of these platforms. And I also think that they're going to make it very difficult for you to move platforms in the future. Again, just something to keep in mind about how you're feeding your data into these platforms and what you're giving these platforms access to. I think Claude, earlier this week, I shared on our social media that there is a way to import data that you export out of ChatGPT, but I'm also seeing that the file export coming out of ChatGPT is so large in size that Claude currently cannot upload all of that data at one time. So these companies have zero reason to put any type of an investment into making it easy to move from one platform to another platform. This is going to be part of the risk. So my advice is to not be married to one tool or another, to feed information to these tools based on whatever project you're working on, and then be ready to do it all over again if you do decide to move to another platform. And, at the end of the day with AI, no matter what you are using the tools for, whatever prompts you're using, you shouldn't be giving these tools 100% control anyways. So whatever your input is and whatever output these tools are giving you, you should have your eyes on it. You should have full control over your messaging and whatever it is that you are putting out. It should be supporting your brand, your messaging, and all of that. So although these tools can create a number of efficiencies in your workflows, at the end of the day, you as a business owner should always have control over your assets. I don't care what tool you're using, wherever you're building your website, to using AI, to whatever financial platform you might be using to track all of your expenses. So whatever it is, just always have full ownership of whatever it is that you are working with as a business owner. These are assets. And so don't give AI complete control of you and your business and your assets. This is the first of many conversations I believe we will having about AI. Just want to remind you that we will be continuing the conversation over in the community, and I would love to hear from you how you are currently using AI. Which tool are you finding to be the most helpful in terms of where AI is right now? And I'm also curious to know about your trust levels. I think as consumers, we are a lot smarter when it comes to knowing where our data is and how it's being handled. And I'd like to know how you're feeling in terms of trust with AI in its current state. So head on over to community.thrivesoloco.com. We'll be continuing the conversation over there. Next up, my current tech stack. Let me give you a background about my business. I am a big believer in creating multiple revenue streams for my business. I generate revenue in all different types of ways. And then that way, as a business owner, this has just helped me to keep things as consistent as possible throughout the year. So I do take on client work. I own a marketing and video production company. So I take on different types of projects under that umbrella. I also have another YouTube channel. It is called Tech with Context. It's actually under my name over on YouTube, Cree Edholm. That's where I talk about video production tech, but I break it down in realistic ways to make the barriers of entry a little more comfortable for anybody who is interested in using cameras, live streaming equipment, microphones, lenses, you name it. I talk about it over on that channel. That generates revenue through AdSense and then also through affiliate links. And now I have Thrive Solopreneur Collective, and the plan is to emulate everything that I've learned on my other YouTube channel here in the podcast. As I grow this audience, I'll have the opportunity to also earn revenue through AdSense on YouTube, maybe through ads on the podcast, and then also through affiliate links. And this is just a great way for me as a business owner. If I want to share information about specific tools, I can have listeners or users click an affiliate link. It doesn't cost anybody any money. But for instance, if I send somebody over to use a tool like Canva, that's a horrible example because Canva doesn't have a great affiliate program. But anytime somebody uses my link to sign up for a product or service, I'm going to get a small kickback. So that is something that I definitely take advantage of in my business. And again, you as a consumer, if you click that link, you're just supporting me and it doesn't cost you any money. So those are the different ways that right now I am generating revenue. And I did forget to mention one other thing. In terms of Thrive, there is a monthly subscription if you want to be more involved in the Thrive community. So that way I can generate recurring income on a monthly basis. And from a business perspective, that just helps me maintain that consistency so that I can plan ahead and do other things like pay bills and live my life outside of work. So that's how I currently have everything set up. And in terms of my tech stack, it's important to know all of the different businesses that I am working on because my tech stack overlaps as well. So I could be using one tool for all of these different initiatives. For instance, QuickBooks is a great example of a software subscription that I have, and any revenue that I generate goes through QuickBooks. So there is overlap there. But when it comes to Thrive Solopreneur Collective, the current platforms that I'm working with and paying for, first of all, is the website. That's built in WordPress. I am a WordPress user. I like to have full control over all of my code and anything that has to do with my business. So that's why I choose to use WordPress. I'm using Ghost to manage my community website. So that's where you can go. And in terms of community management, I am using Ghost to manage my community. Ghost is helping me to build my email list. It's also helping to make announcements to all of you. So if I post something to Ghost, it can also be an email. So that's two birds with one stone. If I post, that means it's also going to send out a newsletter or an announcement about new podcast episodes or any new videos or information that I'm sharing in the community. That makes my workflow much more efficient. And then Ghost integrates with Stripe payments. So I like that because if for some reason I ever decide to move away from Ghost, I don't have to move out of Stripe as well. The only constraint would be that I would have to move to another platform or build a platform that also integrates with Stripe. But either way, because I am offering a monthly subscription, that's recurring revenue. And anytime you switch payment processors, it means that you have to also reach out and ask your users to sign up again to give you permission to take out that monthly payment. Ghost is also an open source platform, so I can take all of my data with me anytime I want. Again, I like that because it gives me full control as a business owner. And, there are other community management platforms out there. Circle is one that I can think of off the top of my head, but I chose Ghost because of its simplicity and also because of its cost. I really don't want this to be a heavy lift to begin with. My plan for this community is for it to evolve, however it's going to evolve over time. And I don't want the platform that I choose to be a limiting factor. So that's why I went with Ghost. I'm really happy about using the platform so far. For all my businesses, I use Canva. Any design that I create, I'm using that tool. Metricool is what I'm using for social media scheduling. And it's also great because I can log into Metricool and I can respond to comments in the tool. I don't have to log into all of my separate social media accounts in order to respond and communicate with everyone. Additionally, Metricool has a really great reporting feature. I love the reports that come out of that tool, and that way I can keep track of all of my social media activity across all platforms. I've already mentioned that I'm using QuickBooks for video and podcast production. I am using the camera and the audio equipment that I currently have under my video production business. But in terms of podcast hosting, I upload all of my videos to both YouTube and Spotify creators. From Spotify, I can distribute to all of the major podcast platforms from there. And even though I'm uploading video to Spotify, it distributes the audio version out to places like Apple Podcasts and wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. So those are the two tools I'm using for that. Opus Clips is the AI tool that I use to capture clips from these episodes. It's a great tool I've been using for a long time. And then I'm also using Google Workspace to manage my email. That's where I store everything. Use my calendar out of Google, tasks and everything like that. I also use Google Meet. Everything is in one software subscription. And I just use that for all of my business platforms. And then I also have analytics tied to everything and anything possible. I've already mentioned that Metricool has a great reporting feature that will give me data and analytics so that I can evaluate how things are working with my business. Anytime I build a website, I make sure that I have Google Analytics set up for the site. And then Ghost also has some analytics as well. So every month, I'm constantly looking at my data. It's just another way for me to determine what's working and what's not working. Gives me very hard and fast information about whatever it is that I'm working on so that I can make adjustments right away. And then finally, we're circling back to the tools that we began this podcast episode with, and that is ChatGPT and Claude. Currently, I'm using AI any chance I can get. I personally am experimenting with using both ChatGPT and Claude at this time. It's something that I'm doing not only for the community here to share with all of you, but I'm figuring out what tool works best with whatever situation that I'm working with. Also, if you notice, AI is being integrated in most tools that I use. For instance, Apple Notes now has AI integrated into the tool, and I think Apple is going to be investing more into AI, so that will be a part of the ecosystem. And I'm just using Apple as an example, but Canva is another platform where AI is being integrated. And I think we're going to see more and more AI available to us. And that's what this community is all about. We'll be keeping track of what tools using what and what is working best for everyone. So right now I'm using ChatGPT and Claude for organizing my thoughts. It's a great way for me to go in and just brainstorm. And then I'll use those tools to clean everything up. I can turn that into a script for the podcast, a script for any video I'm making, or even just some sort of a planning document, depending on the project I might be working on. I also use it to help me clean up emails and different types of communication. Social media posts, I am using these tools as well. If I need to do research about tools, then I'm using it for tool selection, building out automations, and turning videos or original thoughts into blog posts. So those are just a few examples. Again, I'm using it for everything and anything. Budgeting, I can feed any of the analytics. So I'm collecting data based on whatever tools I'm using. I can upload that data to AI, whatever platform I'm using, and it's going to help me look at that data so that I can make better decisions as a business owner. So these are the types of ways that I'm using AI. This will be the first of many conversations that we have about leveraging AI to create efficiencies for your business. You as a business owner, at the end of the day, have got to determine where you're going to spend your time because these tools cost money. And I think that coming up with the money or the budget to pay for them is one issue, whether you can afford it or not. But the other issue is where are you spending your time? So be aware of the amount of time you're spending using AI. Is it a time suck? Can you leverage AI to help save you time? And when I say efficiency, that's really what I'm speaking about is your time. You should be able to sleep at night. And if you can leverage AI to do that, then that's what we're going to be doing. So this is just a high-level overview of how I'm currently using AI. I am going to be going into more specific details about each of these platforms, and I'll also be evaluating different tools that I didn't mention today. So this is where you come in. Head on over to the community and let me know what you're using, what's working for you, what's not working for you, what's your favorite tool right now, and is it currently using AI to help make your life a little easier? I'd love to know over in the community. Lots of talk today about AI and tech stacks. So the next step that we're going to be focusing on next week are prompts. How to create a prompt that is going to work best for you and how to give these tools enough information so that you're getting an output that's actually going to work for you. So we're going to start that conversation in the next episode of Thrive Smarter. And of course, I'm keeping an eye on all of the information that's coming out in the news cycle right now. So any updates I'll be sharing with you as well. Thanks as always for tuning in. Head on over to community.thrivesoloco.com and we'll see you again in the next episode.